12 Dancing Princess. In English. Once upon a time there lived a king who was blessed with 12 daughters, all of whom were princesses. Each one of these princesses was more beautiful than the next, and as they were all young the king was beginning to consider their marriages. However, a troubling secret came to his attention. All 12 princesses were dancing throughout the entire night, yet nobody in the castle could figure out where they were going. This mystery greatly worried the king. He tried to prevent their nightly excursions by locking the door of their chamber, but all his efforts proved futile as he consistently found holes worn in the princesses' shoes, indicating they had indeed been dancing. Driven by his concern, the king made a grand announcement across the kingdom. He declared that any person who could discover the secret of the princesses' nightly dance would be granted the choice to marry any of his daughters and would also be crowned king after his own death. However, there was a severe condition: if the person failed to uncover the secret within 3 nights, their life would be forfeited. Ws of this decree spread rapidly, carried by the wind. Soon a prince from a neighboring kingdom came forward, declaring his intention to discover the princess's secret. He received a warm welcome at the king's palace. On the first evening after dinner, the prince was given a room to sleep in, strategically located adjacent to the princess's chamber. His bed was positioned so he could easily observe the princesses and see where they might go to dance. The door to the princess's chamber was intentionally left open. A couple of the princesses entered his room and offered him a glass of wine, which they presented as a welcome drink. The prince consumed some of the wine and began to watch the princesses, eager to see their movements. He sat for a while, but soon his eyelids grew heavy, and he fell deeply asleep. He awoke the following morning only to find that the princesses had already danced. This same pattern of events repeated for the next 2 nights. On the 4th day, having failed to provide any explanation for the princess's activities, the prince was killed by the king without any mercy. Subsequently, many other individuals came forward, drawn by the king's announcement, but every single one of them failed to uncover the secret, and consequently all were killed by the king. The king, despite his actions, was not happy about killing them. He was deeply saddened that he could not find the answer to his daughter's secret dancing. In the same kingdom lived a soldier who had been forced to leave the army due to an injury. With nothing else to do in his life, he decided to travel to the king's city. On his journey to the capital, he encountered an old lady whom he kindly helped. She thanked him and inquired about his destination. The soldier replied that he was unsure but was considering going to the king's city, wondering if it was related to the princesses. The old lady confirmed that she had heard about the matter but warned him, saying that if he pursued that cause he would likely lose his life, just like many others who had attempted it. After saying this, the old lady offered the soldier a special cloak, telling him that he would become invisible when he put it on, and that it would help him to follow the 12 princesses. The soldier gratefully thanked the old lady and proceeded on his way to the king's castle. The king welcomed the soldier, and he was treated just like the previous candidates. Later that evening, he was shown to the room adjacent to the princess's chamber. After some time, the eldest princess entered the soldier's room, greeting him and offering him a welcome drink from all of them. The soldier, already made aware of the princess's tactic, drank all the wine but did not swallow it, as he had ingeniously placed a sponge under his tongue. As soon as the princess left his room, he removed the sponge and skillfully pretended to fall asleep. All the princesses were delighted to see him seemingly asleep. They then proceeded to get dressed up, preparing to go out. Once all of them were ready, the eldest princess tapped her bed, which immediately sank into the earth, creating an opening. The 12 princesses, one after the other, descended through this opening. The soldier, who had been watching their every move, quickly put on his invisibility cloak and followed them. He descended along with the princesses. Halfway down the steps, the youngest princess became frightened. The invisible soldier subtly pulled her dress a bit, causing her to get even more scared. She remarked that her dress must have caught on a nail and instructed someone to pull it out and come along. The soldier smiled to himself and continued walking with the princesses. The princesses soon arrived at a beautiful garden where all the petals on the trees were made of silver. As proof of his journey, the soldier pricked one of the silver petals. When he did so, there was a creaking sound. The youngest princess became scared again. The eldest princess quickly reassured her, claiming it was merely the gunfire of joy. Because Hay had gotten rid of one more man, they continued on, entering a second garden, this one featuring golden leaves on every tree. The soldier again pricked a leaf. There was another cracking sound, but the eldest princess once more urged the youngest one to ignore it. Moving further, the princesses entered an avenue that was full of diamonds. This time the soldier picked up a diamond as proof. The youngest princess heard a cracking noise once more and again became scared. At the end of the avenue, 12 princes were waiting for the princesses with their 12 boats. Each princess sat in a boat with one of the princes. The invisible soldier chose to accompany the youngest princess. The prince rowing their boat remarked that he could feel the boat was very heavy that day, and that he had to exert all his efforts to row it. The 12 boats reached the other side of the lake, where a beautiful, splendid castle stood. The 12 pairs, along with the invisible soldier, entered the castle. As they stepped into hall, music began to play. The 12 princesses danced with those princes with great vigor. They continued dancing until 3 o'clock in the morning, by which time their shoes had worn holes in them. They then decided it was time to return. The 12 princes rowed them back across the lake to the other side. This time the soldier made sure to sit with the eldest princess. As they were about to return to their chamber, the soldier swiftly ran ahead and lay down on his bed just before the princesses slowly arrived back in their chamber. The princesses then remarked that they should change their clothes and go to bed. This exact sequence of events occurred every night. The soldier followed them, collected evidence, and returned to his bed before they did. On the concluding day, the king summoned the soldier. The soldier confidently addressed the king, stating, "My lord, all the 12 princesses go beneath their chamber. There is a castle under your kingdom." He then proceeded to explain the complete story in detail. The king looked towards the princesses, who had been listening from behind a large curtain. He asked them if the soldier's account was true. The soldier then presented his proofs, the silver and golden leaves and the diamonds he had picked. Faced with this irrefutable evidence, the princesses confessed to what they had been doing. The king was immensely happy to finally know the truth. He then asked the soldier which of his daughters he would like to marry. The soldier responded that since he was no longer a young man, he would like to marry the king's eldest daughter. The king immediately ordered his men to arrange all the necessary preparations for the wedding, and the ceremony took place on the very same day. The king declared that his son-in-law, the soldier, would be crowned after his death. And so they all lived happily ever after. Analysis: the tale of the 12 dancing princesses unfolds as a captivating mystery illustrating themes of paternal concern, cunning investigation, and the ultimate triumph of truth. The king's initial dilemma, rooted in his daughter's inexplicable nightly excursions and the wear on their shoes, sets a high-stakes premise where both a grand reward and a severe penalty await those who dare to unravel the secret. The initial sequence of failed attempts by numerous princes highlights the difficulty of the challenge and underscores the king's growing despair as he is forced to execute many men without gaining any answers. This repetition emphasizes the seemingly unbreakable nature of the princess's secret. The introduction of the soldier marks a significant turning point. Unlike the previous candidates, who seemingly lacked the necessary insight or caution, the soldier is portrayed as resourceful and intelligent from the outset. His act of kindness towards the old lady, a seemingly minor detail, proves to be pivotal as it leads to him receiving the magical invisibility cloak. This Cloak is not merely a plot device, it symbolizes the essential advantage of view, unseen observation and clever deception over direct confrontation or brute force, which the earlier princes likely relied upon the soldier's immediate awareness of the princess's trick with the wine, and his ingenious use of the sponge further establishes his cunning and preparedness, demonstrating his capacity to outwit the princesses from the very beginning. This intelligence sets him apart from the unfortunate predecessors. The narrative skillfully uses the magical elements of the sinking bed, the wondrous gardens with their metallic leaves and precious stones, and the grand underground castle to create a rich fantastical world. These elements are crucial to the princesses' ability to maintain their secret, providing them with a hidden realm for their nightly escapades. The soldier's collection of the silver leaf, the golden leaf, and the diamond serves as concrete, irrefutable evidence that validates his extraordinary claims, shifting the story from a mystical secret to a demonstrable fact. The repeated fright of the youngest princess at the creaking sounds and the eldest princess's quick explanations subtly hint at the princess's own nervousness and their attempts to maintain their facade. The detailed description of the princess's vigorous dancing until their shoes were worn through vividly conveys the extent of their nightly activities and the passionate nature of their secret life. The soldier's meticulousness in following the princesses each night, gathering evidence and ensuring he returned to his bed before them, highlights his perseverance and strategic thinking. His presentation of the evidence, coupled with his comprehensive explanation, leaves no room for doubt, compelling the princesses to confess. The king's happiness at finally knowing the truth resolves his long-standing worry. The soldier's choice to marry the eldest princess, attributing it to his age, adds a practical and mature dimension to his character, further distinguishing him from a typical prince seeking a young bride. His reward, not just marriage to a princess but also the eventual inheritance of the kingdom, underlines the immense value placed on solving such a perplexing and dangerous mystery. The story concludes with the traditional happy ending, signifying the restoration of order and the triumph of honesty, albeit after a period of prolonged deception.